Yoichi Isagi is BLUELOCK's main character, the player who we follow throughout the series, viewing over his development and style improvements as he pursues his dream of being the best in the world. With the most recent chapters released being chapter 295 of me making this video, we were finally given the results of the BLUELOCK NEL final ranking. Now, like many in our community, I was actually disappointed with the final results, as Isagi and Rin were revealed to have tied in total value with a 240 million yen bid value. Now, personally, I believe that Isagi deserved a much larger value increase, not simply given his incredible performance in this game, but because his post-Uber's value had increased more than this post-PXG value did. Now, obviously, I could just rant and complain to you like I did in my last video about why Isagi deserves number 1, but I'm not going to do that. I think it's better for you to make the decision yourself. So in today's video, I'll be breaking down everything that both Isagi and Rin did in the PXG game, and I'll leave it up to you to decide which character deserves a higher bid, or if you think that a tie is still deserved. Before getting into the video though, I want to leave a spoiler warning for the current chapters of the BLUELOCK manga, and if you are not caught up, I would suggest clicking off this video now if you wish to not be spoiled. I also have a Discord server called the Neo Egoist Geeks, which you should totally join. The link to that is down below. Now, looking at Isagi before the PXG game began, Isagi had an NEL value of 150 million yen, placing second in the ranking, tied with Bato after the 7th and 8th matches were completed. For this breakdown, I'll be showing you the feats that Isagi had participated in starting from chapter 249, where the PXG game began, to chapter 293, where the game had concluded with the final goal being scored. Now, while I do believe that Isagi deserved the title of number 1, I'm not going to be biased in my reporting of the facts and the feats of this game. That way you can decide for yourself who truly deserves the higher bid value. So without further ado, let's jump into the events of the game. In the beginning chapter of the game, being chapter 249, Isagi's first feat is intercepting a pass to Rin from Narase, sending the ball out of bounds. In chapter 250, Isagi is tracking the positions of the players, observing Charles and his movements, and manages to block a pass towards Charles before it can reach him. In chapter 251, Isagi tracks Rin's movements and pressures him with Kaiser to stop him from shooting. However, this fails as Rin manages to get a shot off, which gets blocked by Hiyori. In chapter 252, Isagi goes to pressure Rin to stop Charles's pass from reaching him, but the pass actually flies past Rin as it was never intended to go towards him. In chapter 255, Isagi rushes in to try and stop the 2-on-1 of Charles and Rin. However, as Isagi goes to mark Rin, Charles uses him as bait to try and break past both of them. Towards the end of the chapter, Isagi stokes Kunigami's ego in an attempt to get them to align with each other. In chapter 257, Isagi breaks past 2 defenders with an off-the-ball technique, pushing himself towards a spot that he can score from with Hiyori's pass. He then uses Kunigami to fake Shido out, getting the ball into the perfect spot for him to score from. He then creates the twin gun volley shooting technique, allowing for him to shoot while being pressured by Rin and Kaiser, scoring the first goal for Bastard München. In chapter 261, Isagi rushes in to try and stop Kaiser's offensive press by taking the ball before Rin can stop him. However, this results in none of them gaining possession. Isagi then attempts to pressure Kaiser with his words, telling him to kneel before him as the new king of Bastard München. Isagi regains possession despite Kaiser's attempt to steal the ball in chapter 262, as Kaiser awakens with his new ego. In chapter 263, Isagi gets pressured by Karasu, who attempts to steal the ball from him. However, he manages to quickly link up with Corona, allowing for Isagi to break free from his pressure. Isagi continues to link up with Corona in chapter 264 until eventually the ball is stolen from him, where Kaiser manages to retake possession. After a double press, this allows for Hiyori to get the ball and feed it to Corona, as Isagi rushes into the perfect shooting space. And after Corona sends a pass, Isagi attempts to take a shot. However, Charles rushes in to block the shot at the last second. After Kiyor picks up the pass from Ness in chapter 265, Isagi rushes towards a position to score from, attempting to draw at a pass from him. However, Isagi is used as bait for Kaiser, to which he's able to score using the Magnus Impact in chapter 266. In chapter 268, after kickoff begins, Isagi along with Hiyori rushes in to press Nanase off the restart. After Kaiser loses possession in this chapter, Hiyori passes the ball up to Isagi as Rin enters his flow state and begins to challenge him to a 1v1. In chapter 269, Isagi and Rin begin to match up as Isagi manages to fend off Rin's attacks, keeping possession of the ball. However, as Nanase rushes in, Isagi passes to Corona, breaking past both players as he sends the ball back. Isagi then dribbles next to Kaiser, drawing attention towards him, as he would then trail behind him using Kaiser as a diversion. He then would break away from Kaiser, ready to score his own goal. However, Rin would rush in, going deeper into his trance, stealing the ball from Corona. As Rin begins to break through Bastard München in chapter 270, Isagi trails Rin, trying to use his metavision to analyze this new style. At the end of the chapter, Isagi decides to collide himself with Rin, challenging him for the title of number 1. We then see Isagi lose the shoulder challenge as Kaiser rushes in to challenge Rin at the end of chapter 271. As they match up, Isagi picks picks himself off the ground and attempts to challenge Rin directly. Kaiser sits back and watches as Isagi's pressure and Kaiser's stalling allowed for Ness to rush in and steal the ball from Rin in chapter 272. As Nanase sends a pass to Rin and he breaks through Bastion München, Isagi and Kaiser try to stop Rin from shooting, however he states that he is unable to stop him in time. In chapter 274, Isagi and Rin face off against each other, as Rin's more physical style allows him to overpower Isagi, breaking past him with the cross Elastico Nutmeg, knocking Isagi to the floor. Isagi then gets up and rushes towards Rin, subconsciously entering his true flow state in the process. In chapter 275, Isagi appears where Sai's illusion was and begins to press Rin to try and stop him from shooting. However, Rin manages to take a shot, with Isagi crashing into him in the process. Despite Isagi's tackle, this leads to Rin scoring a goal for PXG, bringing the game back to a tie with a score of 2-2. As the Master Strikers sub onto the pitch in chapter 277, Isagi is placed in the center forward position as Noah kicks the ball to him to start the final kickoff. He links up with Noah to break past Shido, however Loki then charges in to steal the ball from Isagi as he receives it. As the play restarts after Igaguri's free kick, Noah uses Isagi as bait to link up with Kaiser, where it's revealed that Noah has been using Isagi to fuel Kaiser's ego in chapter 278. In chapter 279 with the Bastion München free kick, Isagi attempts to intercept the Magnus impact, however he fails to predict the more drastic curve to the shot. In chapter 282, after analyzing geniuses, talented learners, and Kaiser directly, Isagi is able to understand the conditions to enter his true flow state. He then positions himself to challenge Rin at the end of the chapter. In chapter 283, Isagi and Rin match up against each other, with Rin forcing his way into a shot despite Isagi's pressure. However, Isagi had planned for this to happen as Kaiser rushes in to intercept Rin's shot. In chapter 284, Isagi talks shit to Loki, calling him lucky to be born fast, and challenges Noah to wait for him in the World Cup. At the end of the chapter, however, Isagi offers Kaiser a chance to ally together to win the game. In chapter 285, Kaiser accepts Isagi's offer, and at the end of the chapter, we see Kaiser and Isagi rushing down the field as the game restarts. In chapter 286, Isagi uses himself as bait for Rin to tackle him as Kaiser slides in to steal possession. Kaiser and Isagi then continue to link up, sending passes back and forth, incorporating Hiyori and Raichi into the plays, unifying all of Bastion München. After being sent a pass from Hiyori, Isagi fakes out a defender using his twin gun volley, however it is eventually blocked by Karasu, who just recently awakened Metavision. In chapter 287, after linking up with Rin, Shido passes to him, but Isagi and Kaiser rush in to stop Rin before he can shoot. In chapter 288, Isagi begins to link up with Kaiser and the newly subbed on Yukimiya, and is actually used as bait to force Karasu to mark him over Yukimiya. In chapter 288.2, Isagi picks up the loose ball and passes it to Ness, attempting to link up with a quick 1-2. However, the ball is eventually stolen from Ness, sending it out of bounds. In chapter 289, Isagi and Kaiser begin to link up, but Rin positions himself to stop them from doing so. When Isagi begins to move by reflex, running into Rin's blind spot, he positions himself to receive a pass to score from, but Rin manages to swipe around and intercept the pass with his newly awakened Predator Eye. In chapter 290, we learn that Rin has decided to man-mark Isagi to a 4-meter radius, as Isagi accepts Rin's challenge and attempts to surpass him. Eventually, Rin gets possession of the ball as Isagi tries to take it back from him, but he is actually baiting Rin into letting Kaiser steal the ball. This fails though as Rin collides with Kaiser, but this eventually leads Kaiser to swiping the ball away from Rin, sending the ball upfield for Bastion München's final counterattack. As Hiyori and Yukimiya dribble through the midfield, Isagi rushes up towards the goal box in an attempt to get to a spot to score from in chapter 291. Rin appears in chapter 292, trying to decide whether he should pressure Isagi or Kaiser, eventually choosing Isagi to crush when the pass gets sent. However, the pass never did intend on going to Isagi, which eventually led the ball to being in the air. In chapter 293, as the ball begins to drop towards Ness, Isagi begins to rush on the field with Rin marking him. He runs directly into Kaiser and Shido, using them as a wall to allow for Isagi to break free of Rin. After embodying Kaiser, Isagi appeared where the pass would begin to drop, as Rin had failed to catch up to him. This led to Isagi scoring a rotating direct shot, scoring the final goal for Bastion München, winning them the final game of the NEL. But now that we've addressed all of Isagi's feats, let's talk about his rival in the other number 1 of the NEL, Rin Itoshi. Before I do though, if you are enjoying this video so far, leave me a like and subscribe down below to see more awesome Blue Lock content just like this. And if you want to support me even further by becoming a member of the channel, you not only earn a ton of benefits like personal video requests and shoutouts and videos, but you'd also be mentioned in the Blue Lock New World movie as a contributor to the project. So if you're interested, become a member of the channel and help support me and my content. Looking at Rin before the PXG game began, Rin had an NEL value of 198 million yen, placing him first in the ranking, surpassing Isagi by 48 million yen after the 7th and 8th matches were completed. Now, like I did with Isagi, I'll be showing you the feats that Rin had participated in starting from chapter 249 where the PXG game began to chapter 293 where the game had concluded with the final goal being scored. So without further ado, let's just jump into the events of the game. Starting off the game in chapter 249, Rin had run down the field to position himself to receive a pass from Nanase, however Isagi had intercepted it. In chapter 250 with assistance from Nanase and Karasu, Rin was able to stop the Kaiser impact before the ball took flight. Rin then proceeds to do a solo break down the field where with assistance from Nanase, gets to the perfect location to score from in chapter 251. This is where Isagi and Kaiser appear to try and stop him, where Rin manages to take a shot despite both of their pressure. Hiyori then needed to fly in to intercept the shot. In chapter 252, Rin was used as bait by Charles to allow for Shido to draw first blood for PXG. In chapter 255, Rin and Charles challenge Isagi in a 2-on-1, where Charles uses Rin as bait again to break past Isagi's pressure. In chapter 256, after Charles' pass course to Shido is limited, Rin runs next to Charles for a pass, but he ignores Rin to pass to Shido anyways. In chapter 257, Rin appears to try and stop Isagi from scoring, however he fails to do so. In chapter 259, Rin begins to push down the field after kickoff, however he hesitates after hearing Charles wants to quit. This allowed for Hiyori and Raichi to come in and steal the ball from him with a double press. In chapter 261, Rin rushes in to take the ball from Kaiser as Isagi comes in to assist, and it results in Kaiser losing possession as the ball flies into the air. In chapter 263, Rin rushes in to take the ball from Kaiser after Raichi's pass. However, he loses possession again from another double press by Raichi and Corona. In chapter 264, Rin double presses Kaiser with Karasu to steal the ball, however they don't manage to regain possession. In chapter 266, Rin and Charles appear in front of Kaiser to try and stop him from shooting, but they fail as Kaiser effectively completes the Magnus, scoring another goal for Bastard München. In chapter 268, Rin enters his incomplete flow state and begins to challenge Isagi, where in chapter 269, he loses to Isagi in a 2-on-2 despite Nanase's assistance. At the end of chapter 269, Rin manages to get closer to his destroyer mode, hitting Corona with the center of gravity full burst to steal possession. In chapter 270, Rin manages to win a 2-on-1 against Raichi and Kiora, sending a pass to Nanase as he rushes down the field. He gets past Yori with a destroyer rainbow flick and breaks past two last defenders as Isagi then charges into Rin's shoulder with a tackle. In chapter 271, Rin fully enters his destroyer mode, winning the physical battle against Isagi and challenges Kaiser to a duel. Rin then matches up against both Isagi and Kaiser, but after stalling for some time, he eventually loses the ball to Ness in chapter 272. In chapter 273, Nanase gets the ball back to Rin, who goes on a solo full break, breaking past Corona, Raichi, and Hiyori's constant pressure a number of times. He then manages to get into a spot to score to where Isagi and Kaiser couldn't keep up, but he instead chooses not to shoot and passes the ball back to Charles. Charles then sends the ball back to Rin as he challenges Isagi to a 1-on-1. He ends up breaking past Isagi with a cross Elastica Nutmeg in chapter 274, passing the ball to Charles as he runs into the perfect spot to score from, to which Shido appears to challenge him for the final pass. In chapter 275, Rin takes a shorter run course to hit a bounding shot, to which Isagi appears to stop him. However, this doesn't stop Rin as he collides with Isagi while shooting to score a goal for PXG, tying Bastard München. After the Masters sub on in chapter 277, Loki steals the ball from Isagi and passes to Rin so that way he can end the game off. Ikaguri then rushes in, drawing a foul from Rin and shutting down his destroyer mode. In chapter 280, Rin manages to steal a pass from Charles to Shido, and then starts to break past Bastard München's defense to where Ikaguri then manages to draw another foul out of him, restarting the play for Bastard München. In chapter 282, Loki passes to Rin again and actually goes around Ikaguri instead of colliding with him. As Rin pushes past the Bastard defenders, Isagi appears to challenge him to another duel with both players in their flow states. In chapter 283, Rin breaks past Isagi in a 1-on-1 and shoots towards the net. However, Isagi wanted Rin to shoot as Kaiser appears to block the shot. In chapter 285, Nanase then throws the ball into Rin as the game restarts. In chapter 286, Rin breaks past the Bastard players before colliding with Isagi. After colliding with him, however, Kaiser comes in to steal possession. In chapter 287, Shido links up with Rin to unite PXG, and as he sends a pass to Rin as he enters the box, Rin fails to shoot thanks to Kaiser and Isagi's pressure. In chapter 289, Rin begins to block Isagi and Kaiser's pass course, and despite them managing to link up, Rin stops the pass to Isagi thanks to his awakening of Predator Eye. In chapter 290, Rin officially begins to man-mark Isagi to a 4-meter radius, and after gaining possession, begins to close in on the place to score from. However, after colliding with Kaiser, Kaiser, he manages to swat the ball away from Rin, sending it up the field. In chapter 292, we see Rin clashing against Kaiser as Isagi and Kaiser begin to break free from Rin with a cross run. In chapter 293, as the ball flies into the air, Rin attempts to keep his mark on Isagi as he runs towards the goal. However, after running towards Shido and Kaiser, using them as a wall, Rin falls behind, losing his mark on Isagi, which results in Isagi scoring the final goal of the game, winning it for Bastion München. And that is quite literally every single thing that both Rin and Isagi did in the final NEL game. I'm not here to argue who deserves the higher bid, but with everything that you've heard, do you agree with the current values that were given? Well, that's for you to decide. Aside from that, I hope you guys did enjoy this video and will continue to enjoy it in the future. I also want to say thank you so much to all of my members of the channel who help support me and my content, and if you wish to earn some awesome benefits like they do, and even get your name mentioned in the Blue Lock New World movie, become a member yourself and help support me moving forward. And a final reminder to join my Discord server if you're interested in getting more involved with our community. As for the question of the video, who deserves a higher bid value? Isagi or Rin? Leave me your thoughts down below in the comment section. And like always, thank you all for watching, like and subscribe to see more awesome Blue Lock content just like this.